Gallagher Peach, and I was a nursing major.
And Ken Peach, I was a communication major. We both graduated in 1976. I was from Millburn, New Jersey, and I actually chose Seton Hall because of an alumni who, while I was looking at communication schools in New York State, suggested to me that with my existing experience in communications and radio in New Jersey, I'd be better off staying at Seton Hall, which is where he had attended. And so he actually made the recommendation, and I'm very glad I attended.
And I'm from Union, New Jersey, and my sister was in the school already. She was 2 years ahead, and I was a nursing major, and I knew they had an excellent nursing program, and I wanted to stay home.
I remember orientation, and in fact, I still have a copy of the book that was published with pictures of all the incoming students in freshman class, and that was wonderful. It did give me a chance to get around, meet some of the people on campus, the people in our own class and activities, and then on top of that, I had been doing some things with my high school and radio, and therefore had been over WSOU actually before I became a student. And so that really became a second home to the dorm for me as far as I was concerned.
And I started a lot of my classes in the Arts and Sciences building. So I remember this big polar bear on the top floor. In fact, I think the polar bear was stolen for a day or so and returned. I don't know how they got him in or out. I remember the big chemistry classes and how terrified I was to take chemistry. And then I remember the beautiful chapel because that's where I would go a lot of times for baths, and of course the hangout back then, believe it or not, was the library.
I was very involved with WSOU, and again, that probably became my second home. Being a communication major, I spent a great deal of time there. Also, Seton Hall gave me a chance to get into the city because I began to meet people. Actually, upon graduation, I became a board member of the New Jersey Broadcasters Association because I had been attending while at Seton Hall. It also gave me a chance to meet a lot of people, alumni and others in New York City, and the opportunity was just tremendous. So I spent a lot of time also in the city while I was at school.
Well, probably no surprise I was in the Student Nurse Organization. But I also was in the Student Senate, which was absolutely wonderful to be involved in all the activities that went on throughout the university, because being in the Student Senate then, you were in a lot of other activities. And even though I wasn't an official cheerleader, I was at all the basketball games.
Then? Well, it doesn't look anything like it did then. We actually had records, 33 albums that we were playing. We had audio tape. In fact, we used to, during the whole line, during the post-basketball games, we used to spread two big reel-to-reel machines apart and run the tape from one machine to the other so that we could put a tape delay in as we took calls in case somebody said something we didn't want on the air. Of course, that's all done digitally today, but at the time, that was the way we did it. We also had huge cartridges. At some point, the radio station had bought a system that no one else had, and they were very unique. But that's what we used in those days. And our chief engineer, who actually put the radio station on in 1948, Tom Parnham, used to have his telephone to his TV repair shop there, and we used to get a big joke out of answering, Thomas Edison, can we help you, and that type of a thing. So it's changed drastically, and it's also repositioned. It used to be in the old gym on what would have been the west side of the gym, as opposed to where it is today.
There was the dean, whose name was Sister Agnes Rankemeyer, who was the dean back then, who unfortunately died doing missionary work, but she very much set the nursing program on the map. It was a department then. It became a College of Nursing. In fact, I was one of the senators that got to vote for it to be changed to a College of Nursing, and she established the graduate program. She established the pediatric nurse practitioner program, and really took Seton Hall nursing to a brand new level. She was very influential, as was the president of the university back then. Just very engaging with the students, knew your name, walked the campus, and it was just wonderful.
And I think in my case, it was really more of the interaction with students and those that I met and interacted with during school. But Dr. McGlone, I had him for a course, and I'll never forget, he was also on an advisory group for students picking or helping select new professors for the communication program. And I would sit there and ask all kinds of technical questions. What programming have you been doing? What equipment do you work with? And he'd sit over there and he'd say, what books have you read? And I thought, what's wrong with him? He's so detached. And as the years go by, I admire him so much more every year because I realize, the value of asking those types of questions and just, where he was going with that. So age adds wisdom.
I do want to add a couple more. The faculty, Donna Wong, Carolyn Rummel. In fact, Donna Wong wrote and still writes the major textbook in pediatrics. To think they were my instructors and then made a difference in students throughout the world. The faculty just was very, very engaging. I had an additional benefit since my sister was there because she was a French major. And so I got to hang out with the faculty of the French program and was actually in the French club, believe it or not, even though I don't speak very much French.
I also got into the city. I remember having a friend who had graduated a few years before us who was with NBC at the time, and I remember going in for the NBC Nightly News Christmas party in Rockefeller Center. NBC, you interacted with people that you never would have thought you had a chance. So from a professional standpoint, from an arts standpoint, I was dating someone. We went in and saw plays together. We went in to see ballet. We just did a lot of walking around the city, and then school books to go in. And at that point, to go into the, I think Barnes and Noble may have been a warehouse in downtown Manhattan. So you went down there to get your books sometimes if you could save a few pennies. And so it was just, you'd go in as a group sometimes, and then a lot of individuals, and you could do it by just hopping on the train or the path.
Now, I was a nursing major, so I couldn't be in 50 things. In fact, I said we wouldn't have probably dated at Seton Hall because I was studying a lot. But there are a variety of things. We used to take advantage of the plays at school, of course, all the sporting events, mostly the basketball, but track and field, sometimes baseball. And did just activities with students on campus. Whatever was happening is what we did. I also actually worked throughout school, so that limited a little bit of my time for other activities.
One of our, Ann mentioned activities in the student center. We always used to have different things to go to, movies and concerts and so forth. And I remember another alumni coming back, and that is the amazing Kreskin. And he came in and did a fantastic show and had people speaking in languages no one else understood, and it was just terrific. So again, those are high points. You didn't have to leave campus if you didn't want to for a lot of different activities. And you can tell I obviously was not a commuter student, so I had a chance to interact and enjoy the campus full-time as well.
I did travel overseas, though, as part of the College of Nursing, studied in England, the English healthcare system, which was awesome.
It wasn't an annual basis, but at that point, we did go through the streaking period. I have to mention that. I didn't streak, but they did streak on campus, I remember. So that was that period of time, like 75 or something like that. It's something a little bit different, so.
I don't remember as many of the traditions. Of course, we're a lot older than you, so I don't remember all of the different traditions. I do remember when all new students would come on campus, and of course pep rallies for the basketball team, because back then our basketball team really was terrific.
Mm-hmm. Well, certainly to pick Seton Hall, that would be the first thing. I think make the most of the experience. The other thing that's really changed since we were there, and Ann mentioned it earlier, is it's nowhere near the commuter school that it was. When we were there, a good part of the campus was paved over and was parking lot. And now it's so much more beautiful in terms of how buildings have been done in the parking garages and separation really of traffic and students. So I think there's a lot more on-campus life, and I know that Ann's brother, who graduated and also met his wife there, quite a few years later, that they were able to live on campus and experience the campus life. And I think that, and school is what you make of it, like any other experience. Get involved. Don't just if you can afford to, don't just focus on the academics, also get involved in the other activities. And if you're in a field, see if you can make the professional connections that we made as well.
I think it's a lifelong learning. So certainly your major, I think the first year is the hardest adjustment to being on your own. But I think you're right, Ken. I think participating in everything that you can, fitting that in with all your other priorities, and the friends that you'll make are lifelong friends. We have lifelong friends from Seton Hall that we still stay in touch with, and they're all over the country. But certainly study, because that's why you're there, but take advantage of all the other things and broaden your horizons. Take courses that are not in your major just to learn something new about the world. That really was very beneficial, is taking things way outside your major.
Well, yours is easier.
Well, I'm a nurse. I actually started working in Washington, D.C. I worked at Washington Hospital Center, but then we started dating, so I had to move back to New Jersey. I worked at Monmouth Medical. I went back to school to the University of Penn and got my master's. I was a clinical nurse specialist in Newark for several years, and then we moved down to Florida in 1983. I started in the education department and had a series of promotions over 27 years, including being the executive director of one of our hospitals, Chief Operating Officer at MD Anderson Orlando, and now Vice President of Patient Care and Chief Nursing Officer for Orlando Health. And in addition to work, I've been able to do wonderful things, including working with the Royal Order of Malta. I'll actually in April be going over to Lourdes to take care of Malats again for the third year in a row, and I'm very excited about that.
And I ended up staying where I had been working during Seton Hall at a radio station down at the Jersey Shore, which was a beautiful music station, which is now the RAT, W-R-A-T, in Belmar. In fact, I built that building before I left. I managed that station for 6 years. We lost our lease nearby, and I built the building from the ground up that you see there today. That was really an exciting opportunity. Left there, worked for a very short period of time in Elizabeth, New Jersey at a station called WJDM. Bought a radio station. That's what brought us to Florida. We bought a radio station on the west side of Orlando. Ran that a few years, and we ran into back-to-back citrus freezes down here. One of my clients was a hospital, and I ended up stepping in, developing their public relations department. Went on to basically help administer and operate other hospitals over the course of about 20-25 years. Worked for the American Hospital Association for a while, State Hospital Association. Actually ended up, we ended up working together for a while in the same organization. And then I had a chance to go out for the last few years and operate physicians' practices in terms of growing medical offices. Today I'm the executive director of the Health Council of East Central Florida, which is the local health planning agency for a 4-county area around Orlando. So that's a long ways from communication. But the skill set, the business skill set, the communication, the education are all skill sets that I was able to use and gave me great flexibility. And back to the liberal arts piece of, getting a good rounded education, very important. You never know where you're going to end up.
We both are able to volunteer for a lot of organizations. We've both been Rotarians and just a lot of different things that we've been able to do because we have good jobs.
Mm-hmm. My time at Seton Hall went by in a flash, and I only wish that it would have taken more time or seemed to take more time. And I'm just so glad that I had the opportunity and enjoyed so much the opportunity to really begin a new phase of life, both by meeting my wife there and the education, the networking, and all of the things that I got out of school at Seton Hall. It was terrific.
My time at Seton Hall helped me develop as a woman, helped me discern my career and the path that I wanted to take in life, and gave me a lifetime of memories.
Okay, that's it.